name's Dan. I have to do this thing just for legal purposes or whatever. But people ask me now why I decided to run for Congress. And my answer is simple. Because I can. You see, no one should get to tell you what your destiny is. That's up to you. Because somewhere along the line, this is a party and a country that put mankind on the moon. And somewhere along the line, we forgot that. And I think I know why. It's because people forgot that to be part of something, you have to do something. You have to get involved. You have to get involved in your community, at the bake sale, at your church, at your school. You have to go to the band concert. You have to go to the band concert because you have to realize that when you go to the band concert and you go to the school and the bleachers look like they need to get fixed, that sometimes they don't get fixed because nobody notices and nobody does anything. You have to go and you have to see why your post office looks like it belongs in a third world country and not in the greatest country on earth. I get sort of harangued and harassed on the internet sometimes because I call myself a progressive, but then I just remember that the root word of that is progress. Going forward and doing something different. And that's what it's all about. It's this part of humanity that says when something's wrong, we have to stand up for that. And you have to stand up for that. There's a whole generation of people my age that will never have a moon landing. Probably even long after I'm gone. But we have to change that. We have to fix it. You have to get out, and it's about more than voting. It's about more than who's going to be the next president or who's going to be the next whatever position. Just think how many amazing advances in science and medicine and technology have we robbed from our children because we weren't willing to worry about just who is going to be the next person to hold power for the next very short period of time. But you have to get out there and you actually have to do something about it. You're not going to solve it by tweeting about it or by getting on Facebook. You have to go make noise. You have to go stand in front of the courthouse and yell when something's not working right. You have to go stand up for something when you see someone on the street abusing someone else. You have to get up and you have to fight against that. People ask me all the time, like, do you think that one person can really make a difference? And I don't know yet. Honestly, I'll let you know when I find out. But I do know that life is not about getting knocked down. It's about how you get back up. So even though there are days when I feel like an idiot for running for Congress in the most corrupt state in the country, there are other days when they scream for you.
What you just did was democracy in the United States of America.
And there is something out there where a crowd of people will scream for you. But just like so many years ago, when people strapped themselves onto the back of a rocket, you had to realize that we couldn't go to the moon just by looking through the telescope. We actually had to go there. And that's what we have to do. We can't just look at the future, this thing we call progress. We actually have to go there. I hope that you will go there too. I hope that you know that you have the capacity, no matter those days that you feel like you're just getting beaten down, you can get up and you can make a little bit of noise and you can make a difference. You can make a change.
Roger, tranquility, we copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot. Sorry, I'm please, for me,
You did.
Hey, Nico, you're muted.
Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry about that. I was muted. Good afternoon. This is We the People. I'm Aniko Nolan, your host for tonight. We are going to be interviewing the person you just saw on camera, Dan Rolle. With us, we also have Mickey San Miguel, a badass in his own right from Democracy Spring, who taped for us, and he's doing We the People video comment modding for the first time. Hi, Mickey.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. Thank you so much for
It's
doing
it's
this.
actually yeah, it's super cool to be here. Dan Roll. Whenever I watch that damn video, it's amazing, man. It truly it gets me teary-eyed and very emotional because that is really what life is about and what being a leader is about. So yeah, super thrilled to be here. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Heck yeah. I think it takes a lot of guts to run as an unknown person, just jumping into it. So let me introduce with that, Dan Roll. How are you doing? Thank you for being here.
Wow, I'm great. Is the audio okay? Is that good?
I think so. I think we're doing pretty good.
Everybody's good now, yes.
After my muting.
That's okay. It's one of those things about, building the plane as we fly it. That's what this new media is all about. And, we're building it as we go, and we're kind of taking people with us. And I think people would rather tune in and let us figure out our mutes than listen to the media, which we're learning more and more is sort of deciding the story however they want to tell us what the story is. So I think people will take the mute error for sure. So don't worry about it.
Exactly. That's what we say around here all the time. We are flying the plane as we're building it, and it applies to everything. And I know that you're trying to bring in a lot of millennials into the campaign, and you've got some points about technology that you've been making in order to do that.
Sure.
What kinds of things are you doing in Nevada to bring in the millennials?
Well, I've been really interested to see how little the political system is using technology to engage with voters, right down to, this sort of idea that people think that their information is somehow kept in some, great repository, that it's safe, and that their vote is, somehow secure and counted in a way that they should feel good about. But I'm learning that that's not the case. As a candidate for Congress in Nevada, we're given access to the voter file of the state of Nevada, specifically my district. And what I've learned as I've reached out to voters is that we're essentially talking about 2016. The state of Nevada uses an Excel sheet for its voter data, and it's rife with inaccuracies, and the information is not correct. And sometimes I talk to voters who are registered voters in the state of Nevada who haven't been here for 5 years, and it's appalling to me. But the technology is there. But what I know coming from the private sector is that the innovation curve in politics is cyclical. So a bunch of money gets pumped in, in a 3-month cycle every 2 years, and that's when the innovation happens, and then we kind of get stuck. And so the technology has been progressing slowly, and I think as millennials get in the system, as people from the private sector continue to get in the system, what we're going to see is, hopefully, one of my sort of legacies in politics is going to be to change the way that we vote. We vote in Nevada, we vote essentially using boxes, and we trust that those boxes are counting our votes, and there's very little in the way of verification about how your vote is being counted. And anytime you talk about the integrity of the voting system in America, you're either taken very seriously and change happens, or you get cast as sort of a nut on the fringe, and there's very little in between. But unfortunately, the in between is where your vote gets counted. And that's a big part of the work that I'll do, hopefully in Congress, is to modernize the voting system. The technology that you have on your phone is fully capable of securely casting your vote, and you carry that around in your pocket every day. So if we imagine 5 years from now, 10 years from now, being able to get all of the information you need right from a source like this, digitally, quickly, easily, without the filter of people spending millions of dollars to craft the message into a box and then send you to another box to press a button to vote. That's what's happening in America right now, and we do have to change that, because I think as I learn, as I talk to actual people who want to get involved, this primary that we're talking about right now is a great example. I'm in a district with almost 1 million people, 850,000 in the state of Nevada, District 4. What it will come down to is essentially about 20 to 25,000 people, primarily people on the higher end of the generational spectrum. So that's a very politically correct way to say it. Voting because they know that they know that's how it's always been. Anyone under the age of 45 that I talk to really doesn't understand the primary process, let alone how amazingly easy it is to vote right now. And that's the scary thing that I've learned. Above any other sort of backroom deal that I've learned about is how difficult it is for people to get access to information about what changes their life every single day. So we're working on changing that. But a lot of what we do is we're working our butt off to reach out to voters digitally one by one by one, and it takes a lot of time, but it's worth it.
That's great. And well, that's what Bernie's doing with face banking and phone banking, one-on-one. So yeah, that's awesome. And before we get into the Nevada stuff that you mentioned on our phone, we can do voting. Well, we've got a thing called Place a Vote. John, if you just want to do a plug for Place a Vote since it was mentioned, do you want to do that before we go into the Nevada thing?
Hi, everybody. I'm John Ellis. You may know me from other stuff here. Anyway, go to placeavote.com. Placeavote.com. It's basically the framework for the app for democracy. It is one of the cornerstone pieces. What they do is tie into the voter registration database at the federal level. And we need everybody to go and sign in to Place a Vote. They have 2 sitting reps that are signed into this and are going to use it. What does this do? It does 2 things. The more people we get signed into this, the more voter data they collect. The reps want this data. You get to see everything they're voting on, where they're going, what they're doing, what they have to do, what's coming up to vote on, why you would want to vote on these things. You get to have a conversation about that stuff. You can leave your opinion and your vote. You can do it anonymously, or you can do it full signed publicly. And your representative, if you're one of the persons in that, the 2 sitting reps using this information, right? They're going to collect this data. Let's say they get 3,000 people. I forget what the sample size needs to be. It's very small, like 500 people to 1,000 people that are in their district that give them information. That's worth it to them. They can turn around to the other Congress people, the other representatives, and go, according to my data, my constituents want me to do this. On the other side of that, once we get these guys in the system, and they'll want to be in the system, we can look at them and go, hey, we told you that we wanted you to vote this way. What's the problem? So it's accountability, and this isn't directly tied to the actual voter. We're not. I mean, it's tied to our voter database, but it's not placing your vote for you yet. This is outside of it, so we can test it, work out the kinks. So placeavote.com. There you go. I'm done. Back to you guys.
That was awesome. I really wish I could say it that well, but I knew I couldn't. So that's really good information, and I hope maybe Dan Rolle will be in that one day.
I do too. I do too.
Very cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
I was checking it out while you were talking. It's a super clean interface, super easy to sign up. So if you're listening, there's no reason not to sign up. It looks like you can get literally signed up with one click, like I just did. So
yeah, and
awesome.
You need to go do that. So yeah,
we'll get you connected with that, Dan. They're working right now at the federal level only. They will tie into state level databases with anybody. And just so you know, they use blockchain. They use bank level security. And the guy. We've had these guys. They're brilliant. They're genius. This is secure as hell. So, all right. Done.
That's great.
Awesome. That was awesome that we just had a candidate sign up to place a vote on our show. That was really cool. But the next thing.
I have to correct. It was actually 2 clicks. I clicked to sign up. I signed up with my Facebook, and I'm in. So that's great. That's super easy. So.
Awesome. Very easy. Not as easy as the Nevada Convention. That was kind of hard. I'm just going to refresh everybody's memory while John sets up these little videos that I put in chronological order. They're really short videos. The first one is where Roberta Lang does the gavel thing, and she's like, oh, I'm making the rules. So then she leaves the podium, and then we're going to watch one with the chair, and then we're going to watch one with the motion where you're making the motion to remove Roberta Lang right after that. Then at the end, we of that, we see a clip by Max Johnson, a 16-second clip where Barbara Boxer is walking out and pointing the middle finger at the Bernie supporters. So I just want to have that visual fresh in everybody's mind as we go into this conversation. So John will play that for us.
All right, and I want to add one thing here as we start this, and this is to John Oliver, because I watched his piece on this entire Nevada in our primaries and caucuses, and Oliver said that PolitiFact reviewed all of this data and did not find anything was done incorrectly or wrong with the Nevada caucus. You're telling me they watched Roberta do this and found nothing wrong? That's my question.
Refuse me. So I'm asking all of you, Hillary and Bernie, please smile, because we're Democrats. Okay. The motion is this. I am asking you to have a recount. 9:30 was too soon for a preliminary vote. The petitions did not get to everyone. Everyone wanted to come in and get a seat or get their badge or get things at the different tables around and get their pins. But they didn't get the petitions. And that's what we need. You can't count petitions if nobody got to sign them.
Okay, we have 3 speakers for and 3 speakers
Point of order.
I will call the question. It has been moved and seconded that the temporary convention rules be passed by the body. All those in favor say aye. Order. Order. All those opposed say no.
When you see her do that, hope we're not giving you flashbacks, Dan.
Nico,
Right.
can you hear me?
What's that?
I said I didn't know if you wanted to run through them all in one shot or not, so I had the audio off on you. So,
Oh, okay.
So sorry, I didn't know what you wanted to do there.
I thought maybe you needed a second or two to set the second one up. That's fine. But no, if you have them, totally. Yeah, go right ahead.
No worries. Here we go, guys.
That was dramatic.
So that was a slow motion of the chair that was never thrown. Right, Aniko?
Very nice.
Right. He put it down.
Yeah.
The other guy took it and put it down.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to talk about that moment, because that was such a pivotal moment.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, let's pause right there, because I think so much dialogue happened around this idea. Immediately, it just blew out of control in the media that there were chairs, plural, thrown. Violent Bernie Sanders supporters were throwing chairs at the convention. And, nobody took the time to check the facts and really look and see what happened. It literally took days before anyone actually said anything and anyone actually took a minute to actually look and see what happened. And a lot of good people intervened. I want to thank Sean King. I want to thank you guys. I want to thank Susan Sarandon, who all stepped up and said, no, let's ask some people who were there what actually happened. And then fortunately we saw the video, and for those of us who were there, you know, I think, and I'm really glad the Democracy Spring movement's with us here too. You have people who get really emotional about this process, and I think that is great. It's what makes our country special, and we need to continue to get people emotionally fired up about democracy and our country and the republic and what we're going to do to make change. And what you had someone who was really fired up. And, you know, if you talk to that person, you know, I think there's some symbolism there, whether that's, you know, smart or not. It was, you know, there's some symbolism around Roberta and the chair and picking up the chair. And either way, obviously, bad decision. You know, that's not the right thing to do. But you had someone pick up a chair, and then you had people on the Sanders camp actually go over and say, hey, no, let's not do that. And then the chair gets put down. If anything represents what Bernie Sanders is talking about, I think that is the moment that represents what Mr. Sanders is talking about at the national level. We have people who say, you know, essentially, enough, no, we have a different message. And, you know, it's really tragic that a different sort of story got spun. And, you know, to NPR's credit, they did retract it. Most national outlets retracted this idea that there was violence at the convention. But unfortunately, the damage was done to the Sanders campaign. I would say that, you know, from a moment of pure integrity, I'm very happy to see that Bernie Sanders didn't just sort of cower to the national dialogue that was happening, and he didn't go out and issue a public apology for violence that didn't happen at the convention. And I think, you know, every time I talk about Roberta, I get harsh feedback, and here's the thing, I welcome that harsh feedback. You can tweet angry things at me. You can yell at me. You can swear at me. That is the way that our country works. You can say what you want to say, and you should say it, especially if you're angry. When I say something like, I believe that the convention was run in an incompetent manner, and I believe that alone, taking everything else aside, is reason enough for Roberta to be removed as chair, if that angers you and you want to leave me angry voicemails, I'm actually okay with that. My number's on my website. You can do that. What I won't do is I won't craft your words as the message of an entire political movement, because that's not fair and it's not accurate. And, you know, if you flash back, those of you who are watching, go watch that video again. What you'll see as Roberta starts to call the ayes for her motion, there's a party official behind her waving his hands up, right? And he's going, vote aye, vote aye. The whole idea of the Democratic and Republican state party system in contested contests is that they are supposed to remain neutral in all contested contests. And a primary is a contested contest. There's a contested contest between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton that goes all the way to the state level. And so when you have state party officials so blatantly acting in a way that shuts down the voice of half of the convention, there's absolutely right for people to be upset. People should be upset. That's absolutely okay. Now, we had a lot of people condemning the threats. I posted a video kind of highlighting where those threats actually came from, because I do think that that's important to know. And for those of you who want, please go to my YouTube channel, or you can go to my Twitter. The threats actually came from a Periscope feed that was happening. That was one of the largest Periscope feeds that we've probably ever had in Las Vegas, because people were tuning into what was happening at the convention. Now, some people got on that Periscope feed. Thanks to the internet, they were able to get some information. They started disseminating information about Roberta Lane. That information was used for people who, you know, who took that information and they made threats. Nobody's saying that that's okay. Not one person has said that. But to characterize the threats made by people on the internet who weren't at the convention as the Bernie Sanders movement, and more specifically as the Sanders campaign at the convention, is extremely unethical, and it's not fair. And, you know, when we talk about people needing to be held accountable for their actions, I will continue to ask that we hold the state party accountable for being impartial. For those of you who want to do your own research, there's a local reporter named John Ralston who interviewed Roberta Lane. I'm going to put that interview up on the website, and I just have to figure out the legality of how I can do that without having Ralston sue me, because I'm sure he'd love to do that. But you can see, and if you want to watch it on his stream, you want to give him the traffic, be my guest, you can see where he asks Roberta if she essentially was taking orders from Harry Reid, and Roberta Lang, in no uncertain way, said, yeah, Harry Reid is the leader of the party in Nevada. And yeah, we check in with Harry Reid when we want to find out what we're expected to do. And again, at the party system, the way that it's set up, that's actually not how it works. A sitting senator, who, by the way, is on his way out, is not the head of the party at the state. That's actually Roberta's job. And so for her to usurp that authority and sort of pass the buck along and say, hey, this convention didn't go the way that Harry wanted it to, I take issue with that.
Mm-hmm. And that's why you called for her to be removed from her position.
There are several reasons. I think if you take aside all of the unethical rule changes that happened, the ignoring the motions on the floor, the refusing to allow motions from the floor, each one of those, I believe, is enough. The way that she acted towards the towards the Sanders of supporters, and Nina Turner confirmed this in an interview she had with Benjamin Dixon, the way she acted and the way that she treated that half of the party is unacceptable. It certainly violates the idea of impartiality, and quite frankly, it was just abhorrent. And I mean, anyone can see that. You can look at the videos. That's the crazy thing about the internet now, is you can't hide behind a cell phone camera like Roberta's trying to do right now.
Exactly.
So I say look for yourself. There's enough video out there where anyone can go look and see what happened and make your own mind up. What I'm hearing more and more is that more people support the idea that Roberta needs to step down than stand behind her. That's for sure.
Definitely. Well, you got a lot of applause. If, John, you want to play that clip where he calls for her removal, that's pretty energizing the crowd there. Because, well, actually, they probably energized you just as much as you did them.
Sure.
So you had a spot, right? You had a spot to go in and talk. Okay.
My name is Dan Rolle. I have stood up to corruption in this party, and I will continue to do so. I am against approving this in its entirety, as it represents corruption and the bigger issue that Roberta Lang should be removed and checked.
So that was you with the megaphone, or you at the mic, rather.
Yeah.
You had a megaphone, too, in one of the scenes. You had a megaphone, and you were talking, and then you went to the mic. That was at a different time, right? Can you tell us about that whole specific thing that happened there?
Yeah, so at that point, we were looking to move essentially the party platform at the state level, and they were allowing points of order against and for essentially approving one specific area of the platform. And because the rules that Roberta unanimously approved for the convention didn't allow motions from the floor, we had to use that moment to essentially ask and motion that Roberta be removed as chair. Now, I'll be very clear, and this is where I think integrity and honesty are really important. The legality of that, whether that falls into any sort of rules of order, whether that's official, that is inconsequential. What really matters is, and I think that's what a lot of the Democracy Spring movement is about, is what matters is that the sentiment was clear. And you have people who are excited to stand behind a movement. And that movement in that microsecond was that almost everyone in the room had had enough of Roberta, and we were ready for her to be done as chair. And that's the baffling thing about what's happening in our country right now, is that time and time again, you see this all over our country. You have people who go and get in groups of thousands, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, and they get excited, and they're passionate, and they're on fire, and they are peacefully just lit up to make a change in our country, and it's like someone somewhere has us all on mute, and I don't understand it. And I don't think that those people who are pushing the mute button understand the long-term consequences of what they're doing. But as this continues to grow, as the base continues to evolve, it's going to be scary for those people. They're going to realize the consequences of pushing the mute button for so long. And I think it's fun. I mean, we started out the program with the mute button, right? But that's what's happening to an entire generation of people in our country. Is I mean, I think all of us can agree. It feels like we're constantly being told, your turn, your prosperity, your good job, your education, it's right around the corner. Let us just finish. Let us have our moment. You know, your chance to have a good job is coming, but this thing is happening. Your chance to send your kids to a good school, that's coming, but let this happen. Your chance to vote for who you want to vote for, to love who you want to love, to have who you want to be president. You know, you don't understand. Trust us. Be quiet and sit down. That's exactly what's happening in our country right now.
Yeah.
But there's a base building to stop that, and I'm excited to be part of that.
Absolutely, we're done taking it. And
Yeah.
just to show the last part before we go to Mickey of her walking out, and then we'll go to chat.
Is it this one here, the senator?
Yeah, the last
Barbara
one.
Boxer.
It was a frightening situation. It was not under control. This is serious stuff, and this is not what we need going into an election. There is no place for this in either party. No place for this.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah. So that wasn't very nice, was it, Mickey?
There's no place for that, for sure.
Mickey, I'm going to go to you for the chat and see what everybody's saying about this.
Sweet. Yeah, so we have a few things about the convention. But while we're on the convention, Cynthia Matthews is asking, what do you think about the power that is going on with the DNC? That they can act very authoritarian and get away with it, and they like it.
Yeah.
Is that really pro-democracy? She's asking.
I think that it will. Again, I think it will have consequences. I think that if the DNC continues, what you're going to see after all these primaries are done, and actually, I do support this movement, is you're going to see mass deregistration from the Democratic Party. And I'm one of the first. I think that a message needs to be sent to the Democratic Party if they continue, and I think that deregistering as a voter, as a member of that party, is a way to do that. They need to know that this is serious. I think that we're starting to see some movement to replace Debbie. I hope that Bernie Sanders continues to put pressure on his support. Pressure is not the right word. Continues to enthuse his supporters, I guess, make them enthusiastic to continue to pressure to have Debbie removed. I think that would be a powerfully symbolic moment, but it's not enough because I think that it's only the beginning. I think it goes back to what happened. I'll use myself as an example. I didn't get to hear so much of Senator Sanders' message because the DNC did a very, very good job of crafting the debate schedule. They did a really good job of crafting the spotlight that Secretary Clinton had in controlling the message. And if you've been watching any of what's happening at the state party level, they appear to have done a really good job of helping Secretary Clinton sort of funnel money from the state party to support her campaign in a way that's apparently very legal and super scary. In terms of power, I continue to speak with people every day, and the sentiment that I get is very clear, and I will continue to stress, if major change doesn't happen very soon, a viable, strong, third progressive party will emerge from this corruption, and it's going to shake up the system.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks so much. What's going on is crazy. We have, we're being led by the least among us, and quite frankly, they have no idea what's going on down here, if you will. So as far as power, that's what's going on. But another thing, while we're on power, Metalhead from YouTube is asking, Dan, what do you think about the state of MSM, mainstream media, right now? And a follow-up to that is, why do you think that the media spins this so much? Is it really all about the money?
I am living that today, I promise you. It's unfortunate. There is an inherent self-interest for the media in the political system, because you look at a state like Nevada. I'm in a Democratic primary. In a Democratic primary, which essentially lasts 3 months, when you combine all of the spending, we're looking at $3 million has been spent. $3 million has been raised and spent just in a primary for 20,000 votes. Pause. Wow. Where's the money going? The money is going to television stations, to print advertisement, to these big gaudy signs that you see on the side of the road every single day. And each one of the major campaigns has buys of $250,000, $300,000, $400,000 in television ads, right? That is the system that later presents the news, right? The original idea of the public broadcasting system, ABC, CBS, NBC, was this idea that time would be allotted to give the American people, under the idea of building infrastructure in our country, to accurately inform them about the information and the news that was happening in our country. What happened as a result over the last several decades is that got turned into a profit center, which is self-interested in creating the political turmoil that we're seeing. The fact of the matter is, there is no interest in the media in having a landslide presidential contest ever. There's no interest, because that doesn't keep the viewers turned in. That doesn't keep the ads and the super PACs from spending money on deceptive advertisement. And what happens, unfortunately, is to your point, people who can't access and find a way into that system never have the opportunity to have their voice heard. And as a Democrat, it's very, in the state of Nevada especially, let me tell you, it's difficult to go up to a special interest group, like, I'm going to use the U word in Nevada, like a union, and have to sort of go against that in a primary. And an example of that is a union called Unite Here. And believe me, I'm a super, super fan of unions. But the Unite Here, which is the parent company of Culinary in Nevada, is able to spend $250,000 running ads for one of my opponents. And let me tell you, again, let's go back to that. There is no amount of grassroots campaigning and fundraising that you can do at a state level to even go up against that. No matter what you do, you will not be able at a state level to run against that kind of campaign expenditure. Now, we go back to the central question was, where does the media come into play? Again, follow the money. That money is being spent at the very television stations that report the news. And so their interest is this self-perpetuating, destructive cycle that's never going to change. And it's things like this, access to free media, access to the new media, that are going to start changing that, but we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, it's definitely the conversation that we're having right now is like one of the biggest threats, I think, to MSM. Right, Mickey?
Absolutely, it is. Yeah.
Are there any other questions or comments that you want to?
Yes, while we're here, real quick, one more question, and we'll move on. Metalhead is asking, how sure are we that you cannot be bought by the quote-unquote industry?
I think that the answer to that for me, unfortunately, today is really clear, and it's because there are sort of these moments in your life that define you, like you have these Batman, down in a well surrounded by bat moments, and that's been my experience dealing with the mainstream media and dealing with especially corporate spending at the political level. I have managed spending only thousands of dollars to compete with 4 people in my primary who have spent, as I said, $3 million. And I have no interest in being a part of that disgusting system, because quite honestly, they've turned their back on me at every opportunity they have. They have turned their back at me and my campaign. Yet in spite of that, we continue to gain traction, followers, and support, and earn media through other channels. And I can tell you, it's disgusting. I'm sure you've all seen the piece John Oliver did about congressional fundraising, and I get the question all the time. You hear about this office that's across the way from the Capitol building where new congressmen have to go and they sit in a chair and they have to raise money. And I'm not going to do that. If that means that I'm not going to get elected in the next 2 years and that's what it is, then that's fine. But I'm not going to do that.
That's beautiful, man. Thank you.
I think it's disgusting. So.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that in today's politics, if you're not playing the game, you get zero loyalty. It's terrible. So. Very nice. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mickey. Yeah, and we're kind of seeing through that. So I think as more and more, like you said, millennials start to see this kind of thing, yeah, it's not gonna matter that much, because they're gonna be able to directly contact you and directly talk to you right on your Facebook and get your answer back, and seeing you acknowledge and basically reprimand the system in this way. Kind of shows us where your position is. And so I think if you were with the system, reprimanding them in that way would probably get you thrown out or not liked by them. So
For sure.
thank you very much. So I'm going to jump to the next topic because we're already at 4:43. So I wanted to real quick talk about Lake Mead water levels. And I read an article that it's the lowest level it's ever been. Actually, that was last year, so now it's even worse. So what do you say about the water sources and the longevity of water sources in Nevada?
That is a really, really sticky situation. And one of the issues with Lake Mead is that the water source is being split through several different states. Nevada actually takes a very small percentage of the water out of Lake Mead, and a lot of that goes to California, which, as we know, is dealing with historic droughts. In spite of what Mr. Trump says, it's dealing with historic droughts. Obviously, part of that is we have to start rewarding conservation. I think Nevada is actually on the leading curve in terms of how we reward homeowners for example, setting their lawns up in an energy and water efficient way. I think long term, in the next, one of the platforms of my campaign is that we have to stop thinking about the next 2 years or the next 2 months. We have to think about the next 200 years. And part of the long term for Vegas specifically, for Lake Mead specifically, is we have to look at and really come to terms with the fact that we may not be here in another 50 years, in another 15 years if we continue using the water in the way that we do right now. But someone has to have the courage to actually get up and say that. And what you have right now in the state of Nevada is there's a lot of sand in the desert, and most people are just burying their head in the sand instead of actually confronting the issue. So that's the core issue. People have to be honest. Instead, what we did in Nevada, which is really scary, and specifically at Lake Mead, is so the water's going down, right? And what's happening is the water gets so low that it's now past the points of I don't know, they're called aquifers. They're the tubes that the water goes through, right? Mm-hmm. And so the water gets past the tubes, and the water can't come out and through the tubes anymore. So instead of addressing the core issue, which is, hey, we're using too much water and we're not being responsible with it, what did we do? We spent $1 billion and we built a pipe underneath the lake so that the water just keeps funneling, right? And that's the sort of burying our head in the sand sort of, how do we fix the next 2 months solutions that got us to where we got. And so it comes from a generation of politicians who are willing to take bold and risky moves and say things like, no, we're probably not going to approve this project, or we're not going to approve this initiative because it's not going to use water responsibly, so you're going to have to reapproach us with a way that it does. And honestly, in Nevada, that includes the 50,000 visitors that we get every single day who use a ton of water. So we got to figure that out.
Absolutely. In the hotels in Vegas, they need to put more of those water conservation taps on the shower and all those kinds of things, because people will just let the water, or maybe timers or something like that would turn things off automatically. But yeah, I mean, there's so much work to do in that arena. It's ridiculous. And Arizona here we're planning on having a Nestle bottling company opening up here and taking the water resources that we've diligently planned for the future, because Phoenix actually has a good water source, and that's why they're like, hey, let's go and take it. Let's
cover it. Yeah, great.
Plus fracking, of course. So, but yeah, and another thing I wanted to talk about is the solar in Nevada. It's basically a competition that just happened between Elon Musk and Warren Buffett. There's an article here. I don't know if we can see the video, but if you just bring up the article, John, and show that. The video basically tells you about the people who were offered solar by Solar City. They came to do business in the state, and they gave a great deal to the people because they would contribute to the power grid and they would save on their bill long term. Then the city decided, oh, that's way too good for these people. They need to pay up. So they changed the rules, just like Roberta Lang did, arbitrarily made some new numbers that people had to pay that made it irrelevant, basically even more expensive to have this already put on your house solar panel, but the amount that you would end up paying would actually be more long term. And that's what these people in the video, that I don't think we're able to play that video, but that's what they were saying. And at the end of the video, it was saying Solar City had to leave the state, basically. They decided not to do business in that state anymore. So now Nevada's lost a lot of solar.
Yeah.
What is going on with that?
And solar jobs. The number is now over 1,000 really good paying jobs. We talk about, there's a huge movement around Fight for 15, which is excellent. But those jobs that we lost paid much more on average than $15 an hour, which is tragic. I understand the business decision that Solar City made, specifically because what happened, you summed it up very correctly. It was more affordable and easier to get renewable energy under the old system, which is called net metering. And then it became prohibitively more expensive to do so because we have what is called an energy monopoly in Nevada Energy, owned by Warren Buffett, which guarantees the energy monopoly will receive a 10% profit on whatever they do. So if they spend $1 billion, they're guaranteed to get a 10% return on that. It makes a lot of sense that when a bunch of people started essentially cutting down on how much power they were using, that they were going to start spending a lot of money to prevent that from happening. And members of the PUC were appointed by and served under the governor of our state, who's Republican. And Nevada Energy, surprise, surprise, is actually one of his highest campaign contributors. And members and support members of Nevada Energy contributed a lot to Governor Sandoval. So again, we used to see signs on the side of the road that said, this was paid for by your tax dollars, because there was this idea that it was okay for people to get together to do great things, which is sort of the core of the video. And thank you so much for playing the video in its entirety today. It used to be okay to get together to do something great as a country. And that's what we need to do with renewable energy specifically. And there's a lot of other solutions for renewable energy. But yeah, to get to your point, we have to invest big time to get there, because right now it's prohibitively expensive. And just for those of you who don't understand net metering, I'd like to kind of break it down as best as I can. The concept of net metering is actually very simple. It's no different than installing an energy efficient appliance in your house. So if you have a fridge, which we'll just use units. If you have a fridge that uses 20 units of electricity a day, and then you get a new fridge, and that fridge uses 10 units of electricity a day, you shouldn't have to pay for 20 units of electricity, right? That seems okay. That's what net metering does. That is what it does. Unfortunately, the energy companies have essentially said now, well, because you have a more energy efficient fridge, my less energy efficient fridge, I have to pay for you to have a more energy efficient fridge. I have to subsidize your energy efficient fridge, and that's crazy. And what it represents is what we talked about in the voter system, which is that the innovation curve, specifically in the power industry, is prohibitively difficult to get into. And if you're Nevada Energy, that's fine. You're good. You're guaranteed no matter what. So to sort of spin that message, NV Energy is saying, oh, we love solar. We want to have responsible solar. And they do want to get into the solar game, because what happens is, it's actually cheaper for them to generate solar electricity, but then it's on their terms. Then it's on that giant company's terms instead of yours as a consumer. And so those of us who really support solar have a very simple message, and I think that message is it should be easier and more affordable to have clean and renewable energy, period. As a congressman, what I would support is substantial investment into renewable energy technology, specifically batteries. The problem about renewable energy solar in a state like Nevada is when you really are reaping the benefits of it, you're probably at work. And so you're not seeing the benefit of all that beautiful solar energy that's coming down. But the battery technology that is necessary to take and store that energy is very, very expensive. We're talking, at the very least, to get into a system like that is $40,000 or $50,000, and the system isn't really that great. in order to get to a point where that's worth it, we have to continue to invest. And what the model has become in our country is, let's hand that off to the private sector. Let's let somebody figure out a way to make a lot of money out of it, and whoever benefits from that, we'll let someone decide, I guess. But it's my belief that had we taken that approach to something like the Apollo program, we would have fast food restaurants on the moon right now. I believe that, for better or for worse. That's a whole other conversation. But that is the result that we would have as a country. And I believe that that movement that we did now over 40 years ago was a uniquely human movement that belongs to all of humanity. And I believe the same should be said for advancing great movements in our country, like renewable energy, like civil rights, like access to better voting technology. Those should be things that we get to put a stamp on as human beings, not as companies. And clearly there are people that disagree with that kind of idea and that notion in our country, but what I think we've demonstrated in the last 5 years is that's not working, and we have to change it.
Absolutely. And there's something to say for the what quote-unquote entrepreneurial state, as I saw in a video, where it's our money that fuels this entrepreneurship of advancing the solar technology and the batteries and all that stuff. It's not necessarily just the private sector that gets to do that.
Well, yeah. And if I could add one more thing, unfortunately, the model right now that exists when we do that is we say, okay, we'll let you come into our state or into our region, we'll subsidize you with a lot of money, and then we won't tax you. And so we end up paying for that anyway. You and I pay for that through a lack of tax revenue or from a direct subsidy to that company, but we don't get to benefit from that other than handing our money over when somebody decides what the right price to charge us is. And I think that's fundamentally wrong.
Absolutely. And the subsidies that we are giving to the fossil fuel industry, if we could just give all of those to the solar industry and the wind and the renewable industry, of course, they won't want that. Obviously, people want that, but the corporations that make money don't. I want to go to Mickey and the audience for the last few minutes here and see what everybody has to say about the water and the solar, Mickey.
Yeah. While we're on all of this, I think it's fantastic. And I think this is a very important question. So Stacy is asking, if you were elected, Dan, what would you do to help the Nevada Education Department? And I think this is important because changing or reforming our education would include also transform what we understand about science, and we could then implement that in the jobs that we perhaps could, walk into, or, and so on.
So there are people right now, my opponents, if you have that video streaming software, you're going to want to start clicking record right now. I believe that the state of Nevada specifically, and at a federal level, we need to legalize recreational use of marijuana, because the revenue stream that we can generate from doing so will substantially benefit infrastructure and specifically education. And you look at, if you want to talk about our country, go into any school in our country. I went to a school from my caucus, and I was talking to a teacher. It's 100 and some degrees in Vegas right now. She said to me, if our air conditioner breaks, our plan is open the windows and hope it doesn't get hot. I believe that. So here's a couple things, and I know we're running out of time, but just about everybody who uses marijuana, or who could use and who wants to use marijuana, already does. They already do. Just that money's going somewhere. And I was just in Denver, and much to my surprise, the place was not burning to the ground. In fact, we're finding more and more and more that it's working really well, and they're able to take that. And because of part of the revenue stream, you're looking at Colorado with, I believe it's called Proposition 69, right, is the first state-funded single-payer healthcare system. And the problem that Colorado is now seeing is they have so much money from legalizing the revenue stream from marijuana that they don't know how to spend it all. And that is where the state and federal government could actually do something productive, change the dialogue around things like infrastructure, education, and healthcare. And there'd be a lot of really happy, mellow people out there too. So I know that's a super controversial position, but I think we're on the wrong side of history right now. I believe that my children's children will look back at us and they will look back at us with the same sort of silliness that we had people running around, making booze in their bathtub, 70 years ago. So.
Yeah, and I don't even think it is a super controversial subject. I think it's fantastic that we would be. There's two parts of it. We're gaining revenue through taxes, and they're going. Those taxes are being allocated in ways we want them to be allocated, and also we're changing the culture of a society that doesn't want to be told what to consume and what not to consume. That's that kind of patriarchal structure we kind of want to move away from, and I don't know. So one more question for you, Dan.
Sure.
Does Nevada have any tax breaks for solar panels?
So there were some tax incentives in place. That's really not relevant right now because what happened is the barrier and cost of entry was so great that it just became irrelevant. You're looking at you have to spend a minimum of $30,000 to $40,000 to have solar right now, and really the tax incentives that were and are in place simply aren't enough. There's just not enough. So we have to go back to net metering.
Wow.
Yeah, I just want to throw something in real quick, guys, because I work with Solar City, and I'm going to throw myself in on this shot real quick, and I want to talk about this for a second. Wrong one. How about this one over here? Yeah, that one. Hi there. Sorry to jump in. Here we Dan. I work with Crystal Hosmer, and she deals with Nevada Solar and all the Solar City in this region. And Warren Buffett is a jerk, and he owns all of the fossil fuel industry. Go to bringbacksolar.org, everybody, because it's a petition that they have going to try to help change things. Dan, I suggest you go there, and I'd like to get you in touch with them so you can work with them because they're looking for representatives and people that are backing the solar initiative. And Crystal explained to me the net metering thing in detail.
Yeah.
Right? You want to hear something even crazy? I mean, you guys should have solar on everything. You got sun everywhere. You're baking. I don't know why you don't have solar. It's kind of stupid, right? Here in Oregon, I tried to put solar on my house, which Oregon is like, go for it, but I have too many trees. They're like, sorry, you'd have to cut down some trees because you don't have enough sun. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, I just want to bringbacksolar.org, everybody, go there. All right, back to you, Mickey. There. And you're muted.
Awesome. The mute button. Wonderful. I think we are running out of time, so I'll hand it back to Aniko so she could wrap it up. But thank you, Dan. It was that was wonderful, man. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Let's connect offline because I'd love to help Democracy Spring Movement for sure. Like I'm super passionate. Let's connect.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you.
That's badass.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mickey. That was great. And you're in Colorado right now, right?
I am. Yep, that's where I'm
at. He's
working
there.
really hard. Yeah, working really hard on fracking. Actually, we're going to get involved in some of those groups, but really important because the county that I'm living in is Weld County, the most concentrated county in the nation with the most fracking sites. So it's pretty crazy, and things have got to change. So, yeah.
That really sucks. Sorry we didn't have time to cover more things like fracking and land management over there in Nevada. But Dan, thank you so much for being on the show. You are awesome. And I just have a quick little thing to go out with that will show what we're going to do to Hillary right now. John, if you could just play A15. It's this funny little GIF that we want to go out with.
You want to go?
Well, no, we don't have to go out with it. I just want you to play the GIF.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll go out with the regular song that I put there. But I want everybody to see what we're about to do to Hillary. So
This is fun, yeah. That's right. Going back from behind. That's awesome, Nico. Thank you.
That's fantastic.
Anything else? We going out with a song? You ready, Nico? What are we doing?
Yeah, I think Steph posted that. So thank you to everybody. It was a great show. And Dan, awesome. Good luck to you. And donate to him at his website, Facebook, and Twitter. And he's all over the internet. So thank you, Dan.
You guys are great. I look forward to
Thank you, Mickey. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Dan. Thank you, Nico.
All right, I totally wasn't ready for that. Sorry, everybody. The link to Dan's website. Listen, the link to Dan's website is in the description. Okay, it's in the description. Go there, get it. Help fund down ticket candidates like Dan. That's what it's about. Sorry, guys, I wasn't even ready. Here you go. Good song, Anika.
Cool. Bye, everybody.
Okay, I gotta go, guys. Thanks very much.
This song says,
Thanks, Dan. Take it.
no matter who you are, no matter where you go in your life, at some point you're going to need somebody to stand by you. Oh, yeah. Oh, my darling. Stand by me. No matter who you are, no matter where you go in life, you gon' need somebody to stand by you. No matter how much money you got, all the friends you got, you gon' need somebody to stand by you. When the night has come and the land is dark and that moon is the only light we see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't shed one tear. Just as long as your people come and stand by me. And darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Come on, stand by me. Yeah. Oh, when the sky that we look upon, when she tumble and fall, Thank you. Thank you.
Huge